All right, this is Ubaid on behalf of Electronics, and in this video, we'll be talking about how government benefits as well as government regulations impact both supply and demand, respectively. All right, so when it comes to government benefits, okay, we're talking about employment related benefits. So let's say you have welfare. Okay, let's say the person is unemployed, cannot find work. Okay, so you have welfare benefits. Okay, you get a certain amount every month or so, okay, to pay for your necessities, to pay for rent, groceries, so on and so forth. So that's your welfare. Okay, you may have food stamps. Okay, this is to cover your groceries. Okay, you may have employment insurance for those who are unemployed, laid off. Okay, so employment. And again, okay, the eligibility for employment insurance may vary from province to province, state to state. Okay, but in general, okay, as far as I understand, if you lost your job with no fault of your own, if you got laid off, if there's shortage of work, then you are entitled to employment insurance. Okay, this is part of the government benefits. All right, and again, employment insurance may vary from state to state, province to province. The amount that you're paid every week may be different for each state, for each province. Okay, and the length of the term, okay, that you're paid employment insurance for may be different in each state or province as well. Okay, so employment insurance is another government benefit. Okay, now what ends up happening is if the government benefits go up, okay, let's assume the government benefits over here, they go up. What's going to end up happening is the employee will have less incentive to find work in general. Now, this might be true of some employees, may not be true of other employees. So employees may have less incentives. Okay, employee may have less incentive to find work. And because the employee may have less incentive to find work, the unemployment rate will go up. So unemployment rate will go up. All right. Now, apart from that, okay, you also have government regulations. Okay, so this has to do with supply of labor. Okay, so this has to do with supply. And the second one has to do with demand. Okay, so this one has to do with demand. So demand for labor is from the employers. And obviously, if you have government regulations such as price floors for minimum wages, okay, the demand will go down. Okay, so you have government regulations such as price floors. Okay, demand goes down. We talked about price floors and minimum wages in some of the videos. So what ends up happening is if you do have demand and supply over here, and let's say your equilibrium point is over here, the government may set a price floor somewhere over here about the equilibrium point. Okay, at which point the employers may be forced to pay a higher wage for the same quantity supplied. Okay, at this point, the employees will be more than happy to work at the higher wage, but the employers would be less than willing to hire more employees. Okay, as a result of which the demand will go down. So demand goes down because of the price floor. All right, now apart from that, you also have other rules and regulations such as taxes, okay, and tariffs. So if you do have taxes and tariffs, the cost of production goes up. Okay, so cost of production goes up. And because the cost of production goes up, what ends up happening is, okay, the demand for employees goes down. Demand goes down. And last but not least, you also have factors such as zoning. Okay, and this has to do with the zone, location, city, or state where the business may be established or operate from. Okay, so this has to do with zoning. And obviously, you have zoning laws in certain states and provinces, which tell the businesses where they can operate as a business and where they cannot operate as a business because it's a residential area. Okay, so just like you have residential and commercial zoning for land use, you have residential and commercial zoning for businesses. Okay, so zoning laws for businesses. And let's assume that you have too many of these residential areas in a given location or a given state. So in that case, it will prevent the business from operating from that location, as a result of which the demand for workers will go down. Okay, so business zoning. So let's say if the restrictions are high, okay, the demand will go down. So these are some of the factors, some of the government regulations which may impact demand of labor in general. Okay, so on behalf of V Electronics, this is Obey. Have yourself a great day.